Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the UPL. It feels like it's been too long since I've been able to utter those significant words here, but we're here, week number 1. My name is Travis D, and I am joined with the ever so fabulous, the RMC is here to be my co-caster for today. How are you doing, buddy?
Doing good, Travi. And after that intro, I am pumped up. Like you said, it's week 1 here. We've had other action, but nothing quite hits the same as UPL here. And coming into week 1, we've got some spicy teams as well.
We absolutely do, man. We got Rise taking on Illinois State University, and it's going to be a phenomenal battle between these two. I'm excited to see exactly what they have, especially because, like we just said, it's the first week of UPL, which is where we get that spice and everything nice gets thrown onto our screens. And I'm looking forward to what is hopefully a very exciting series of games.
For sure. And I feel like, with a name like Rise here, that's a 2018 World Song, right? So this is a team that's looking to try and make a mark as well, rise up, and against ISU as well, Illinois State University, the Redbirds, a team that we're familiar with in the amateur scene. It feels like we're in a boss fight already in week 1.
The music has yet to be seen if it's playing, though. You have Illinois State University on the other side here, and they're looking to make their mark. And one of the big things that I like to highlight is Collegiate gets better and better, man. Every single time we peel our eyes away from Collegiate, the Collegiate team increases in power. Its power level is constantly scaling. It's actually a terrifying thing to take hold of. And now you got to rise to the occasion here, as you do have a collegiate team that's looking to make their mark here. And on the other side of things, you got an amateur squad that's looking to go ahead and put their names forward and make there be some names that we know here inside the UPL.
Yeah, gonna be honest, I'm not super familiar with all of Rise's roster here. More familiar with their bot lane, specifically Vase and Kenny Master Lin. Vase actually participating in the Proving Ground Circuit qualifier, open qualifiers under Mount Olympus as well. Had a decent run of it in the bot lane. So I'm looking at this bot lane for Rise here to really be a bit of a power point. But if we're looking at ranks here, in terms of solo queue, they're not even the strongest part of this roster. Their mid laner RV is a challenger player. Their top lane Shocky as well, Grandmaster. And I know ranks aren't everything, but they do mean something, especially this early on in the season where everybody's still grinding to get up there.
Everybody's grinding. Everybody's hungry right now. We just had, as you were talking about it, the Proving Grounds qualifier that's gone on. Collegiate is going into full swing. We got UPL starting up. The season has had just enough time for people to start to get their ranks in and start to be able to, find their groove, get out of the ELO hell that they may have found themselves in at the very beginning, or surpass their limits, whichever one. So seeing what these squads are able to get up to once they've been able to find each other, been able to grasp what it is that are their strengths. Now it's to see how far those strengths can take them.
Yeah, and speaking of the strength and grasping and getting used to things here, ISU, they've had some interesting things happen to them. Yes, that is Disconnector in the top lane for them there. That shocked me when I first saw it, because I know Disconnector's an AD carry, and I have no clue what Disconnector's champion pool is like in the top lane. Are we going to see AD carries, like the Akshan, Lucian, or maybe even the Zeri popping in? We are 12.3. Zeri is enabled, even if she's been slightly nerfed.
It won't stop anybody. They can be zany on the Zeri if they so want to. If that's what their heart desires. Also, you've got some very fantastic members on this team as well that have been names that we've known quite a bit of time. You got Gluten Free Panda, Drew Dozer's been in the scene for quite a bit of time. You got Tempos down there in the bot lane, you got Yen. So I'm really excited to see what this squadron of players is going to be able to do. And while on the other side, you have a lot of new names. You have Rise, who have this roster full of honestly what the amateur scene is about, which is these players that don't have a ton of information on in terms of like their competitive history coming together and showing everybody up.
Yeah, and Rise is a developmental team as well. They are aspiring towards the Proving Grounds eventually, but for now, they're still new. And maybe we'll see that a little bit tonight. Maybe some new nerfs showing up, but I expect to see them skill up as the tournament goes through. Now, first bans have started to come through. Rise on the blue side, banning away the Vex from Drew Dozer. And you know what? I'm a little bit sad, because Drew Dozer's Vex is a joy to behold for us, but a terror for his opponents.
I'm actually very curious. On the other side, you're seeing a targeted ban of Zac, which is a very curious thing. A lot of people have fell into other junglers, so really done their homework and making sure, hey, if somebody plays Zac, ban it. Too many interesting gank paths for them.
Yeah, and Highs, of course, the jungler, does play the Zac. An interesting Fiddlesticks as well. I wonder if we do see that one banned, if they're going to be targeting pocket picks. The Kiana here isn't actually targeted at the jungle. Instead, it's more at the mid laner RV here, who I mentioned before, challenger level player. Really good on that Kiana, really good at roaming out as well and taking control of the enemy's jungle.
I'm very excited to see what the first pick's going to be. We're seeing these bans, and it's more of one side we got targeted bans, and yeah, there's another one right there against Bulldozer. I'm curious on what first pick is going to be.
The Zillion, that's Tempos' bread.
No, what are you talking about? That's Bulldozer. No, what are you talking about? That's not a Tempos. What?
My bad.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Tempos plays fresh, right? Not Zillion. We'll have to see what ISU want to do here. They've got one more ban, and in the current meta, we've been seeing a lot of Zeri bans because teams just aren't used to dealing with her. She did get nerfed. Yep, there we go. This is Zeri ban, but that does leave the Jinx open, which is sort of the other big power pick right now. We see Twisted Fate, but again, 12.3. Twisted Fate got nerfed, not quite worth it. Maybe jungle Xin Zhao's priority has gone up quite a bit globally as well.
Yeah, I mean, Xin Zhao has been a champion that's seen a lot of success. Something that we have seen be a little bit of a sin has been the full clear Xin Zhao. So hopefully we won't see the Xin Zhao coming out, but it is locked in, so we might have a chance for it. See what this Xin Zhao has in store for us.
Yeah, you know what, Chavi? I understand that seeing a Xin Zhao full clear is painful to see, but at the same time, I think if your lanes are setting up for maybe something delayed, there could be an opportunity for that. And hey, Rise is a developmental team. Maybe they've got some strategies revolving around that. Fingers crossed, we won't have to find out. Now, for ISU, though, we've touched on the fact that, hey, you know, there are a lot of potential combinations open in that AD carry bot lane. Jinx comes to mind, but you don't have to run the Jinx. Aphelios is another really strong option here, and they've actually opted to go with a Lulu. It's worth noting, support solo lanes are still a thing. Lulu isn't one of them, mind you, but still, it could be a setup for, you know, Lulu plus big AD carry plus solo support further down the line.
I'm not entirely sold on that being a disconnector thing. I do like the fact they lock in the Lulu Jinx here. I think that's a very strong combo. But I am curious, Rise, what is going to be your answer here? I mean, the Aphelios is still open. There's still Aphelios Thresh if you decide to lock that in. So there's quite a few options actually still available for Rise if they want to respond to this immediately.
Yes, it is going to be the Aphelios coming in. I feel like that's the sort of accepted trade-off a lot of times you see between competitive teams. You get the Jinx, I'll take the Aphelios. Vayne, I know, plays Vayne. I was kind of hoping maybe we see the Pocket Vayne pop up, but a little bit early for that, and against the Lulu, kind of risky. I wonder if they pick the support here for Kenny Masterlin. And, okay, I was going to say, Kenny, I know him as a really good hook champion player here, not always Blitzcrank Thresh, but the Thresh is probably the best pairing with the Aphelios right away. In ISU, jungle is probably the sort of pick here if you don't want to tip your hand and then you hold your solo lanes, get a counter pick, or maybe you try and blind pick a mid right now. Corki did get nerfed somewhat, so you could blind Victor and then ban out some of the stronger counter answers, hold the counter pick for the top.
Yeah, dude, seriously, get yourself a strong counter pick if you want to. They do grab themselves a Trundle, which makes sense. It's a good matchup into Xin Zhao, right? In the funnel of it all. So we're going into the second ban phase. No solo laners have been picked up at this current moment in time, except unless, of course, they could be baiting us and it could be a Trundle top, but...
Yeah, I have no idea what Disconnector's top lane pool looks like. So if you told me that he played Trundle top, I'm just like, okay, support stop. Okay, you know what? This guy's a converted AD carry main, right? I don't know what he's most comfortable with. But yeah, I'm gonna assume likewise that for now we're looking at solo lanes to come through from both of those teams. And for ISU, looks like they're picking a little bit on this top side on Shockey's Camille, and Shockey is a bit of a carry player. So if you're going to target out those sort of champions, you got to watch out for things like the Tryndamere, the Akali. Even though Chemtank Akali has been nerfed, it's still viable, if not ideal, and Assassin Akali is always on the table. Gwen as well is another option that Rise can use to try and carry from that top lane.
I really hope that we don't see the Akali though, just because there is that, you know, that Trundle that's in the midst here. He does like champions that can build a little bit more of those tanky stats and to have a target to be able to absorb. So I'm personally hoping that we do get to see a carry performance from Shockey. The thing I'm most interested in is they're going to have to reveal one of their solo lanes here in this next pick. So I'm curious what's ideal for them going into this composition that they want to blind. I think Ornn's a fantastic pick right now and is very slept on. So if they want something safe and stable, call up Ornn on the Ornn Horn.
Yeah, I think just tanks in general, and that's why we see the Gragas ban come through The Corki ban as well. I think that's a respect ban, because let's remember the packages get nerfed. It's not going to be present for that first Herald fight. But Drew Dozer was one of the OG Corki players, like before it was ever popular. So there's still a chance that Drew Dozer goes like, you know what, I don't care about the package. I pick it for the scaling. They've just taken it off the board here. So that's a top and mid ban from either side. I really don't know what we're going to see necessarily blinded. Okay, I said Victor's fairly safe right now, and with the Corki off the table, okay, I respect it. Vex isn't there either.
Now the question is, what do you have in your pool, RV? I feel like is immediately just like them throwing the ball over to him and just saying, hey, yo, do you have a champion that can counter this? There's a couple of niche scenarios, but a Gwen would be a very, very curious blind lock in here. And there we go, a statement to be made by Shocky.
Okay, there are some players, when they blind Gwen, I'll just be like, okay, I believe it. But I don't know Shocky that well, and you know, maybe it's time for Shocky to try and impress me and say that, okay, you know what, I have learned from those players who are able to do this. Let's be able to pull that off. And Zoe into Victor, okay, I'm fine with that as a matchup. It's not something we see too much in NA, but I've seen that a lot in other regions as well. With the Zoe, you get a lot of early prio, and combined with the Xin Zhao, there's a lot of kill threat. If the Sleepy Trouble Bubble lands, Drew Dozer is going to find themselves in a lot of trouble, and even with the Trundle, who can match up well into Xin Zhao, it's still not a 2v2 that you really want to take.
And the last hover here to come out, and there it is. It's the Akali. So we will have the Akali coming out from Disconnector over inside of the top lane. So this is what they had. This is the tools that they got, and I gotta say, ISU has a very, very fun looking draft for themselves.
Yeah, they do. I actually really like what both teams have drafted. I think they're strong compositions either way. For ISU here, you've got a really strong team fight with the Victor and Jinx already, and Trundle able to steal away some of those tank stats away from the Xin Zhao as well. Suddenly makes the front line for Ryze a lot more squishy, a lot more vulnerable, and bulks himself out as well as the tank. You combine that with the Lulu. Ryze might struggle a little bit to reach that backline, and I love the Akali pick actually to come in, because not only does Akali have a fun lane phase against Gwen, you've got the kill threat and you've got the ability to kite her around, but also later in the fights as well, look at what Ryze have. There's a lot of squishies here. You've got the Zoe, you've got the Aphelios, and Akali can switch targets here. You don't have to tunnel on one person. So if Kenny's trying to save one person with the Death Lantern, change your target, go for the other squishy and just absolutely rip apart that backline.
The worry I have personally is I do look across these both teams, and there's one thing I like to do. You know, I like to do this big check for myself, and it's called, how do you start a fight? And when I ask that question and I look at both sides here, there's very different answers. Over on Ryze, they got this Thresh, they got the Xin Zhao who can just run in there with the charge. They do have Aphelios, depending on what guns he has. Sleepy Trouble Bubbles, a very fantastic way to start off a fight because somebody's dead. You look over on the other side though, ISU, they have to play really solid with this kind of a composition.
Yeah, they're looking at what Ryze have and they're saying, okay, you know what, you want to engage into us. We'll soak and we'll kite backwards as we pump out the damage. And one of the things they don't have to do is necessarily find a fight, right? They can force a fight just by going to an objective if they're strong enough at that point, and then Ryze if they look to engage into them. So it'll be interesting to see the fight over priority over major objectives for sure. And you know, touching on Ryze and their engage, their pick potential, it is absolutely nasty. Listed through it there, almost everybody except the Gwen has really good engage potential on this team, and so I think that's why I like the Ryze composition. Sure, there are answers from ISU, but a lot of initiative lies with Ryze here, and if they get ahead, if they can dictate, hey, we want to engage here, that's going to be an absolutely massive problem. And early on in the game, I would like to see Highs kind of play towards that top, towards that mid a little bit, because we said that Gwen might struggle a little bit with the Akali, but if you get the Gwen ahead and she can suddenly handle the Akali 1v1, you have very little worries on your team. Suddenly Highs is open to go wherever he wants. Bot lane, that's great. Mid lane, that's great. And all the objectives will just start falling in for them.
Disconnector will have to worry about not getting disconnected, but getting snipped, as that will be the case over inside the top lane. And this is really a scary thing to actually think about too, is there are valuable snowballs for the side of Ryze if they do decide to target on some areas. And to your point, talking about how the higher execution of ISU earlier, man, like, and how they want to disengage. If Ryze gets ahead, that's a scary thing for ISU.
Yep. Yeah, I just have nightmares about Zoe getting ahead, because when she one-shots everybody.
I just have nightmares about Zoe in general.
Well, when she's behind, you know, she's so cute. Who doesn't like a Zoe who's behind, who can't do anything to you? Maybe not when she's
Let's
on your
spam
team,
the
but
copy
on the other team.
pasta at this point in
Yeah,
time.
spam the copy pasta for the weak Zoes, right? Like that's okay. But when she's ahead, she's a nightmare. And let's not forget we talked about the tankiness or the pseudo tankiness from ISU here. It involves Trundle subjugating a tank. No tank. If you're subjugating a Zoe, she's still gonna one-shot you anyway. So they don't really have somebody to soak that too well when the Zoe gets ahead. So for that reason, ISU is a saying that I want to see Highs, pardon me, for Rise focus on the top lane. ISU, make sure that your mid lane doesn't fall behind. Make sure that RV doesn't get ahead here. You don't have to necessarily kill the Zoe, but just zoning her out every once in a while, buying space for Drew Dozer, that's all you need to do.
You've heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. Just win the game. It's that easy. We are in game number 1 here of the UPL. Rise on the blue side, Illinois State University over on the red side. Let us know who you're cheering for, as we do have just standard 5-point across the map. These players are just spread out. Nobody wanting to do anything too feisty to start things off.
Invade, Rise. You've got to Thresh, invade. Actually, they're kind of going in a little bit there. They caught GFP basing, and are they gonna go in? No. I'm sad, Travis.
They saw the ward. They saw the ward get placed down. They know they're on vision. They know that there's 3 people. So you know what? I like the fact that they did get the vision here immediately on the red buff. So they at least know where GFP is going to start at. So knowledge is power, RMC. It's power.
Knowledge is power if you leverage it. If not, it's just a degree you paid for in university. And with those depressing thoughts here, we are seeing the junglers not starting on the same side. And this is a choice by Rise, because Rise know exactly where GFP is. Like you said, the knowledge there. And GFP doesn't actually know where Highs is starting out. So I like it. We said, if you can start in the top side, that will be really nice if Shocky gets an early gank. And look at what the 2 top laners are running. No ignites, no flashes here, pardon me. Both running ignite. They want to kill each other. And I'm all down for that.
I also like the fact that Shocky and the bot lane here from Rise, they actually faked leash. So that's a very interesting thing. Playing the mind games here. Seeing what they can get in that regard. But yeah, like you said, these top laners, I mean, neither one of them, they're both volatile, right? Like these are two top laners that they want to get ahead or they're not a champion.
Yeah, and whoever gets ahead has a pretty decent chance of staying ahead, especially if it's the Akali here. So we'll definitely have to keep an eye and see how that goes. GFP, though, look at the jungle pathing. Is not full clearing top side. Is not, going for that 5 camp clear either. Red, blue, and might go for a bit of a cheese gank here. Vase and Kenny, I don't think they're expecting that quite this early.
I love the idea of it if he does go for this. Pillar is one of the most effective ganking tools, or tools in general inside the game. I always say it's one of the most underrated abilities of Trundle. You just create terrain in a slow field. And look at this. They're going to get caught out of position here. Kenny caught out of place. The Flay to come in. He is in a terrible way. Vase is separated. This forces a clean flash. Illinois State University with some smart pathing.
And the pings here, Travi, that came down. Rise realized that hey, the Trundle might just 3 camp gank, and you saw the pings come down. That was why Kenny was walking up. But you're a little bit too late, and now Vase and Kenny playing at this lane at a disadvantage. They do have the pots. They will heal back up. But Illinois State, Nuclear, and Temple is going to be really happy with this. They now get to trade damage, and their damage will stick better. Nuclear and Temples have pots of their own, which they haven't even touched.
Have not at all. And biggest weakness of Thresh is it doesn't have any inbuilt sustain, so keep on the bully, never stop off the gas pedal, and keep going with that. This time they're able to spot GFP over here in the mid lane. They know he's waiting over here for this Zoe, lurking ever so menacingly, but it will just be Hayes looking around the map.
Yeah, and Highs here level up as well, because we saw the strong power clear come through, and Disconnector.
He doesn't have the Shuriken toss now. He does not have Flash either, but hey, the Shroud, it's all good. Can't see me.
That was a very easy disengage going through there, Travi. I feel so anticlimactic, right? We're setting up, okay, Highs coming in for the gank, and just Shroud, walk away. There's nothing to find.
That's why I hate playing against Akali top lane.
Yeah, I fully agree. Mid lane though, RB?
Yeah, this is Zoe caught out of position. Does have the flash available. Is going to get chomped onto. Ignite being used to give a little bit more movement speed. So we'll be able to survive with just that one summoner usage as the trades continue to go on.
Yeah, the damage will stick, and important to note, RV, no TP either. Drew Dozer does, so once Drew Dozer, kind of shoves this wave out, can look to base, come back in, and continue the trades happily. And quite a quiet early game, Travi, not because the junglers aren't looking for action, but just so far the teams have had really good leads.
The Gravitum gun coming in! Beautiful death sentence! The choppers are able to stop it! The heal comes through to save the Thresh's life. Nuclear taking some good damage. It was a cool play, but it got botched in the end by those pesky traps. Now the trades are continuing to go on. Nuclear is ready to take this fight, but Vase says no more. He understands these rockets are starting to hurt.
That was exciting, and still no first blood here, Travi. The teams are still playing this really well, and Nuclear and Tempos, they're up CS despite the gank coming through. That line of chompers from Nuclear was absolutely beautiful, and yeah, with the way these teams are playing here, you know what? They're kind of okay with no early first bloods coming down as well. Both teams do scale up quite nicely, and eventually, if they can't find the kills, when we do see the kills, it's not going to be just 1 or 2 anymore. It's going to be a whole massive load of them.
Can I just shout out the fact that I really like the fact that Kenny went for Glacial Augment here, by the way? Oh, wait, never mind. I'm going to have to hold that praise. Disconnector and Shocky, but Snip, Ignite ticks away. Disconnector gets dropped in a solo kill. First blood.
Okay, and now mid lane?
The mid lane, Death Sentence lands as well. Easy follow-up as can be. Looks to flash over the wall, but Zoe will seal the deal. 2 kills to Rise.
There we go, Travi. It took a while, but now the body's hitting the floor right here. And I want to talk about the top lane one a little bit here, because Shocky 1v1 Disconnector in what is a bit of an unfavorable matchup for the Gwen here. And that speaks to the confidence. Keep in mind, this was a blind pick Gwen, and that was pre-level 6. Now you've got the needlework. That's usually when Gwen becomes a big threat. When you've got the needlework, that's a lot of damage. That's slow to allow everything else in that combo to come through. So Disconnector has to be very wary of that. And then the roam coming in from Kenny as well to help out Highs. Up to now, it's been quiet. It's been the jungle movement, but Rise the first ones to move out their supports, because it's not an enchanter. You can make more aggressive plays with these hook style, engage style supports.
Check this out. GFP looking for something here, but the Lantern will keep him safe. Nice Death Sentence, play him into the tower, forcing the flash out. Beautiful plays to come out here from Vase.
And for GFP, what were you really looking for there, right? It's so hard to gank. They were being shoved under turret, and now you take that damage, you burn your flash, that's not going to be available. Rise can also start looking up to set up for this dragon if they so wish here. And for Illinois State, I don't know if they've got the vision to tell that Vase and Kenny are going back, because if they don't, and they don't take this opportunity here, I don't know if you want to take that 3v3 later, that 4v4.
Be a very scary bridge to try and navigate, because as this game goes on, as the lead can possibly extend, the rope becomes a little bit thinner as you try to walk across it, and it's rickety, man. It is creaking. It is a terrifying thing to behold. And check this out, Sleepy Trouble bubble yet again, another rotation. Zoe finds the kill onto Drew Dozer.
Drew just thought that, hey, I have RV did to rights here, right? You're out of mana, you're low on health, but once again, the roam up from Kenny has been really good this game, constantly just going to mid on every single recall. Now, Rise are going to lose the Dragon, but they're trading it for the Herald, and they're going to be more than happy with that here. They're going to be able to grow their leads with the gold as well. Honestly, I don't think they're in a rush to drop Herald right now. The lanes are quite favorable for them across the board, but that's a tool they can use, 5 minutes time, when that next dragon comes up, if they want to drop that Herald, pressure, take free dragon, or just give the dragon, take a turret, maybe get a second charge off.
Man, I'm hoping that we do get to see the Herald get dropped in the mid or bot lane too, right? I want to see them crack open, get this Aphelios also out of this lane, so that way he can move around with this Thresh, or get this Zoe so she can go and make everybody else in the other lanes hate Zoe as well, by poking her head and hitting them with the Paddle Star and nuking the HP. So it's another gank to possibly come in here. Shroud is being used. Shocky laying in some damage, but Disconnector, your Shroud is up, your time is up, and it's Haze's time is now. Going to go ahead and charge on forward. Let Shocky pick up the kill. Just wanted the assist, but Rise is running away with quite the lead for themselves in these past couple minutes.
Yeah, and I love the fact that when you watch these kills going down, Disconnector, Ignite not even used, because there's no chance of even winning that particular trade. Drew Dozer as well, then 2 deaths, didn't flash because the damage was just overwhelming and Drew Dozer knew they were dead to rights. And on the one hand, it's good they're holding it. On the other, it's an issue that it's constantly not being used.
Here we go. Flay going forward. Tempo's taking a huge amount of damage, and that's going to be Vase being able to finish off the kill. The Moonlight Vigil coming in. Nuclear taking a heaping amount of damage, but will be able to live for now. A possible dive to get set up. Get the hell out of there, Nuclear, as this Zen Zhao is looking to put you at the tip of the spear.
Once again, Travi, look at the summoners on Tempos. When Tempos died, no flash used, no exhaust. That one, the flash could have saved you if you flashed outside the box. And now you want to see Vase unlocked. They've already taken 2 plates. They're going to get 3. Herald's going to charge as well here. And suddenly, yeah, that's the Aphelios. That's the Thresh allowed to roam even more. And Nuclear and Tempos have to be really careful as well. If they ever push out beyond that fallen turret, they are gankable. I don't think there's anybody who can safely farm this lane.
And this is where I got a little bit scared for Illinois State, right? Rise has a lot of tools to actually be proactive and make things happen. So if they play proactively, if they make things happen, hey, yo, they're going to be in a great spot. Illinois State have to be reactive, right? Like, how do you get the gravity field onto somebody inside of this composition, right? That's your big AoE stun. The pillar is your best way to control movement. After that, you have no other ways to apply any kind of CC, and the only CC you have is soft besides gravity field. So this is, personally, this is where it gets to a doom state for Illinois State, because now Rise is so incredibly strong. They're looking to go for these counter punches, but they can't take the hits.
Agreed. And if the gold was even here, Travi, or even within, say, 1,000, 1,500 gold, even that's kind of big at 11 minutes, but I still think Illinois State are okay. But we're not looking at only 1,000, 2,000 gold. It's double that. It's 4,500 gold difference right now. And you're looking at a team fight. I'm still just looking at the lanes right now. Who's going to deal with Shocky in a split push scenario? Disconnector has fallen behind here. And if they start sending any more pressure this way, that lane's kind of gone. Look at this roam. We were talking about unlocking the bot lane. But just by taking that bot lane turret, they've unlocked actually RV with this scary, scary Zoe. This is not a weak Zoe.
No, not at all. Paddle Star and before you get out, that's not what GFP signed up for.
Yeah, thankfully it's fairly short range because it's based on how far the Paddle Star travels, not where Zoe is when it actually hits you there. If that was a Nidalee Spear, that could have been massive.
That's secret tech coming at you soon, maybe. But right now, the secret tech is Illinois trying to scale up. They want to get Drew Dozer into some item break points here. They want to get this Jeans into their first mythic item. They've been sitting on this Noon Quiver for a little bit of time now, so they need to start getting these core people up in items, especially as the core of Rise is getting consistently more and more powerful. By the way, this Zoe's got to be sitting on a good amount of gold right now too.
Yeah, I mean, considering that we're seeing mythics come through for everyone else on Rise here, and RV got a double or 2 kills at some point, I am expecting to see that item come through quickly, and that's when I'd be terrified if it was Illinois State, right? That's when you're going to get one shot all of a sudden. You can't really contest objectives here now. GFP looking for Shocky.
Yeah, is going to be able to find him. Pillar not going to be able to connect though. Shocky is trying to dance around this. Gets the kill in the 1v2. You need to bring more members if you want to deal with Shocky.
Who else you gonna bring up there, right? And because they went up top, look at what Rise immediately do. Hey, there's 2 top. Just group up and force a turret, and they're gonna take this important mid lane turret as well. Drew Dozer was not there to wave clear, and finally rotates there, but the turret base is just shredding it.
It's getting decimated at this current moment in time. It is a rough scenario because now Shocky is staying true to the name. He's shocking everybody whenever they try to see what he's going to do. This Gwen is unhinged at this moment in time. 3-0-0. And you were talking about who you're going to call. I don't think anybody wants to answer that phone call, man. This is a terrifying group of Rise. They are sitting at about a 5k difference in gold. They just got another dragon for themselves here. Their composition is also scaling with this Aphelios. This is a very scary time, especially when you're asleep as Lulu. Thankfully, Harvey doesn't connect on that.
I was actually half expecting Harvey to hop over the wall. And
Yeah,
hop on the kill there.
same.
But they
The
don't
base.
need to, right? That we're just trying to zone them out so that they can take the turret and bots down, mids down. What's next on the checklist? Top side, and they're going to take a quick pit stop for this Herald. Do they need it? No, but getting it will help them not only maybe take that outer turret, but also threaten the inner turrets as well. And one of the things that Herald can be used for, which gets sort of underestimated at times, is as a dive tool. If you use that Herald, even if you don't have the minion wave, when Herald crashes in, you can start looking for that dive on squishy targets. And when I'm looking across Illinois State right now, everybody looking squishy.
I mean, yeah, they looking like they what is it? A gusher? That was the candy. I don't know if they make those anymore, but looking like them.
Yeah, I was wondering where you're going to go with Gusher there.
Yeah, I know that's what they're looking like. That's all I got, man. I'm just saying they look like a gusher right now. Look, you
Fair, man.
you open up the pack and half of them are already busted open already. Okay,
True.
Like,
They'll get absolutely melted anytime Rice just looks at them funny, right?
Like, this
That's
is
pretty much how it goes.
I mean, it's a rough scenario too because like Drew Dozer did go to the crown, right?
Yeah.
One thing he does not appreciate, Zoe poking him. And I feel like one of the talking points for sure is Illinois State drafted themselves a lot of strong stuff, but they kind of funneled in their thought process inside of the draft on certain ideas, and they lost out on a couple things because of that. And we're seeing that here. They don't have a way to initiate a fight. They don't have a way to start up something for themselves. They don't really have a way to contest anything in these side lanes once something goes on. They don't have a facilitator. There's a lot of things that Illinois State actually don't have in their favor right now, and it's just a rough case and scenario for them as RV yet again, sleepy trouble bubble, man.
Yeah, just one kind of stops the entire engage there. But GFP hasn't actually left yet, and we'll have to see if RV knows. RV's spider senses are tingling right now, and RV's playing it super, super safe. Rise are okay with this, right? They can continue to threaten other lanes. They don't have to necessarily answer this particular play for now, but you can see that Rise don't want to rush anything. They don't have full vision control on bot side, and I want to see them look for top right now. It's the last remaining outer turret. If you take that, it unlocks Shocky to start pressuring Disconnector harder. Actually, Disconnector just picked up the Riftmaker, so Power Spike. I was going to say that with that item inequality with Mythic for Shocky, the longer the lane, the better. But, you know, now that they're kind of even, there's a window Disconnector can look to try and fight this.
I'd like to see it cracked open just because Baron's spawning here in the nets a little bit too, right? Like we're 2.5 minutes away from Baron spawning in. Go ahead and crack open the top lane, assert your dominance up there, make sure you have minion waves that are pushing in, and make it a little bit harder for Illinois State to be able to do what they might want to do. And you can see, yet again, the Shuriken toss coming in. Disconnector wants to look for these moments, but unfortunately, it's snip on any hype that he can draw up.
I mean, yes, the extended trade would probably favor Shocky, but in these short trades, you can look at what Disconnector can do there, right? And Shocky can't actually answer back immediately. It takes a while to stack up enough stacks for that snip to really, really hurt the Akali there. So that's the window I'm talking about here, where Shocky isn't necessarily winning those trades in that lane. And because that's the case, Shocky might look to actually leave and join the rest of the team, maybe look for the Dragon. I think Baron's a little bit overambitious right now, but hey, if you can find a pick, if you win a 5v5, then Baron's definitely on the table in, what's that, 1 minute and 40 seconds?
Yeah, 1 minute and 40 seconds. The big purple worm will join us on the Rift, but less time than that, Dragon is spawning. You can see already Rise is setting up some vision. They have set up control around us, and Illinois State, they're not even trying to contest it. They're not even trying to get vision. They are putting so many resources up here into the top lane. Lulu's up here with Disconnector. Could be the leverage that Disconnector needs to win in this the side lane, but you can see how they're trying to move around their resources and the thought process for Illinois State.
Yeah, and I agree with that thought process. You don't want to contest the objectives. We said in draft already that the way Illinois State's composition works is best when you let Rise engage into you. That Herald feels like they ran out of time.
Yeah, time was running out there. I was curious on what was going to happen with that. But hey, look, it will be a nice distraction mid lane, all on purpose. Big brain, giga brain strategy here. Sets him up for the Zoe poke.
I mean, they
Oh!
find a kill on this.
Yeah, Kenny does get caught in a bad position there, so he does have to flash over the pillar. So Trouble
Ooh.
Bubble connects onto the Victor, so this will be a good amount of damage to be able to be applied. But Dragon is secured while this is all happening. This is an Ocean Soul Drake too, where as these Drakes continue to go on, Ocean Soul is already known to be so good.
I actually don't know how important Ocean Soul is for Rise this particular game here, just because of the way Illinois State's team is going to function, right? It's Ocean Soul is really good against poke or sort of overtime damage compositions, but Illinois State University is all about bursting you down in the midst of that fight. So for Rise, take it or leave it. I think it's bait more than anything else. But for Illinois State, if they can get it, it would go a long way towards nullifying the poke of RV here, of Vase as well, you know, with that Calibrum. And Drew Dozer has to be a little careful here.
Yeah, he's got the Storm, but RV is looking to try
Can he
and
win
weather
this?
it. Good amount of damage being applied. Sleepy Trouble Bubble, the Gravity Field on top of him, will save his life temporarily here, but the
Ooh.
Grand Challenge thrown out, and Hayes will be able to find that kill onto Drew Dozer, but that got to be a little scary.
Yeah, and I appreciate what Drew Dozer is trying to do. The fact that he actually almost killed RV there was absolutely massive. You can see that Illinois State are starting to hit their power points. They're just a little bit too far behind at this point. 5.5 thousand gold down right now. And because of that, like we said, Illinois State, they're hesitating to team fight. They're relying a lot more on the picks on the macro here, but their champions aren't the best at it. They're not the most mobile champions. Victor takes a while to get places. Jinx takes a while to get places. And Rise, as of right now, is still outpacing Illinois State in terms of getting around the map, getting to these objectives. Now, Baron, the big objective on the map here, and Rise starting to clear out the area.
Big Purple Worm, man. He's hotly contested out here, and I mean, you said it best yourself. You're waiting on items. I do want to point out Jinx did finally get their second item here too. That's a PD for themselves here to go alongside this Kraken Slayer. And I feel like in terms of gold, this Aphelios and Jinx are probably very equal in terms of gold. Like I don't feel like they're very far off from each other. So I feel like if you're looking for the win condition for Illinois State, you look at Nuclear and just wait for him to just pop off inside of a team fight. We've seen it time and time again. Jinx can be the ultimate comeback factor.
Yeah, and likewise with the Victor as well, right? Drew Dozer hasn't completed second item just yet, but we're already seeing the damage that can come out, especially with that Chaos Storm here. So ISU, they aren't out of the fight yet, despite being down 7 kills right now. In fact, Nuclear has done an amazing job, so has Drew Dozer, keeping up in farm, despite, you know, kind of falling behind in kills, struggling to get the objectives here. And if there's ever a place for them to try and look for the turn, it's around Baron.
Yeah. They're trying to get the Sleepy Trouble Bubble onto Nuclear. Nuclear doing a good job dodging these shots that are being fired off. And I do want to bring up another key point that there hasn't been another tower to fall in favor of Rise for quite a bit of time now. And they've been the team that's been controlling the map, so they're having a hard time finding angles. So Illinois State doing a good job making sure they're not allowed to find those moments.
Yeah, and right now, I think that's why Rise is looking to try and threaten this Baron a little bit, right? Because they're trying to bring Illinois State to a position where they can find those picks. The lane has not been kind to them here. And Drew Dozer?
Yeah, Drew Dozer is going to get jumped onto. Lots of
win?
damage being put. Drew Dozer trying to see if he can kite this out. The Chaos Storm goes through him, but the Storm never bothered Shocky anyway. Will be fine in that scenario. Now Akali trying to go over to the bot lane, play a little bit of damage control, and Rise has yet again a advantage here inside this mid lane.
Okay, counter one. We'll keep it running counter, Travis. We'll see how many you can sneak in there. But getting the kill onto Drew Dozer, nice, but he still got TP. And Hans TP, we're well past the 14-minute mark here. So what else can they find right now? Disconnector has gone down, still has TP, and Rise, they are still looking for picks. We've not seen RV manage to really land too many of these Sleepy Trouble Bubbles in the last 5-10 minutes. And I think that's a large part of why things have slowed down for this team. If they can't find the picks, they're not confident to play into Illinois State. We said it before. ISU, they're happy to sit back and wait for you to engage into them.
Getting a little bit sleepy on the trigger here for the side of Rise, and it's starting to show. I'll be honest. They're looking for something, right? Like you can tell that you look at Vase, and Vase is like, Aphelios. I got this flamethrower. I'm ready to spit out hot fire. I got chakrams. We're ready to go. Has the gravitum gun. So this could be the setup. Could be some massive AoE if the side of Illinois State overstep. Here we go. We do have a fight. Pillar is being used. Nice use of the lantern to disengage away from the pillar. The fight is looking to be reestablished on even terms. The Gwen is still splitting though. It is now Ocean Drake that is down here in the bot side. Illinois State immediately turned their attention towards it. And now it's Rise that's looking to turn their attention to the members of ISU. Here we go. It is going to go ahead and beat Claim. That's an objective bandit that's going to be slain. But now the Moonlight Vigil over into the bat side is going to be able to connect onto the Lulu. But look at Nuclear. Nuclear is just pre-hitting here. He is just decimating everything. Nobody is touching this man. And he is going absolutely nuclear. Sleepy Double Bubble is going to be able to get something there, but it's not going to be able to secure the kill, as it is going to be 3 members of Rise still standing. But all in all, a good trade for Illinois State.
And this is why we said you can be down 7-0 and you can't count ISU out there. We got to see exactly the strengths and weaknesses. ISU looking to try and force a play, couldn't find it. Rise just walk away. There's nothing to hold them down. But when Rise try and play into ISU, when ISU is set up, that's when you got problems. And Nuclear already starting to pop off here with those rockets. Somebody needs to threaten this Jinx, and or RB needs to soften them up before the fight starts. None of the poke landed, and the teams went at it pretty much full health.
Yeah, I think that was also a mess in terms of the decision making too there, just because they were feeling very confident. But there was a mid lane that they could have just pushed into. They could have tried to force something on their terms, but you're seeing what happens when Rise decides to fight Illinois State on a setup that they're able to have. And the question now, I feel like, as a viewer, as a caster, how is Shocky going to get onto this Jinx at this point? Because I feel like that's the person you're looking at to be able to be that sideline flank.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, especially if Hot here is being used as the primary engage, then it's got to be Shocky looking for the flank. And Shocky's done great in lane, but we've not seen the Gwen have too much impact so far outside the lane, right? Everybody else has been roaming together. Shocky's just been on a side lane, farming this entire time. And Nuclear now playing with fire
a little bit of fire. Moonlight Vigil comes in, and he will call him down. Nuclear gets taken off of the map. Akali is split pushing bot lane, so the rest of the members of Rise, they're looking to pull the trigger over here in the top side. They have a vision of this rotation. Teleport is available for Disconnected. They could possibly look for someone half HP already on the Baron. They're looking to see if they can be able to fight anything. Shocky is playing that space. Or True Dozer is going to find himself getting chopped to bits. And that is just going to be Baron secured for Rise.
One single misstep, Travi, from Nuclear was all it took for Rise to finally get that Baron they've been threatening this entire time. And Disconnector, I think guys, you made the right choice. You're not fighting that. You're just looking for a steal. But GFP didn't even have flash up. So Trundle trying to walk in the front door, that's not likely to happen. Disconnector also not really even able to take the turret. I'm not even sure Disconnector got turret damage onto this.
He got bot turret. He did get the bot outer.
Did he get the outer?
Yeah,
okay.
He got the outer. So he was able to secure outer, but that's all you're able to get in that situation, which, okay, that's the right move, like you were talking about. But there's so much more. Like, Illinois State could have just said, all right, Baron's gone. We don't have a flash on our Trundle. There's no way for him to get over there. There's no blast count. Let's just disengage it. There's obviously going to be vision. There's obviously going to be control from Rise. So I feel like right now, Illinois State, they have to recognize, yo, if Nuclear isn't here with us, if we don't protect, we are in the struggle bus.
100%. It's once again about keep your carries alive, especially in Nuclear. And CP Trouble Bubble, this is where it shines in these siege situations here. And with the Baron buff, Illinois State, they've got pretty good wave clear, but will it be enough? All Rise need is one good bubble on a priority target, whether it be Nuclear or True Dozer.
Nuclear or True Dozer being taken off the map would definitely be huge, and you can see the setup here. They're trying to 1-4 this defense. Jinx just back, so Nuclear is trying to fast track themselves over here to the top side. And the rotation coming out from Rise, this is where it gets the most scary. You try to match the rotations between these lanes, and a Sleepy Trouble Bubble will hit you from the side, and that's all she wrote. Mid tower going down. Now the focus can go onto these side lane inner towers.
Yeah, and the moment one inner turret goes down, especially the mid one, it exposes the side lanes a lot. So now Disconnector's not safe and has to back off. Shocky cracks that one, and now Rise, rinse and repeat. You go mid and bot, and you threaten the exact same thing.
I feel like at this point in time, we're kind of you made the reference to the 2018 song. I feel like we're kind of singing this song without singing it because we're just saying Rise over and over again. But they're the ones that are making the moves now. They've learned that, hey, we have this power while moving ourselves around. So they're doing a great job at doing that and making sure that they know, hey, yo, we can be the bullies that we've always wanted to be.
I'm not sure if Rise was about becoming bullies, but
it's a part of their lore now. As Drudozer is absolutely getting bullied.
Okay.
Are you trying to tell me this is not bully? That's going on to Drudozer. Hayes is taking Dragon. That's cool, but still, Drudozer taking some damage. Sleepy Trouble Bubbles going into the back line. It's a terrifying situation, man.
Hey man, I've seen what Drudozer can do to RV. It's not a one-sided bullying there, and ISU doing a great job still fending off this Baron for the most part. Yes, they ended up losing 2 inner turrets, but honestly, against the Baroned up team, that's not the biggest price to pay. They are now still down 6,000 gold. Dragon got picked up as well. I believe that was sole point for Rise here, and Rise, like I said before, the Dragons aren't that important, but get them out the way, and Elder becomes extremely important. 2.5 minutes time, Baron, again, extremely important. And Illinois State, we sound like a broken record, but they're struggling to make plays happen right now. They can't even set up ambushes because Rise has been doing such a great job making sure that they're clearing vision every time they want to make a play. They're not even allowing the chance of a death push.
No chance. That's what they're saying. They're saying it over and over again. And Shocky is a force to be reckoned with in the side lane. Rise has been doing this brilliant 1-4 right now with their composition. They recognize that the Zoe is such a great poke tool that when RV actually hits things, it's fantastic for them. But when Kenny gets caught out of position, it's terrible for them. Beautiful cleanse to come out from Nuclear. Nuclear's going to be able to free hit inside of this fight. If they continue to fight this on, they have no way to be able to get onto him. They're laying out a good amount of damage. Sleepy Trouble Bubble Connect, Super Mega Death Rocket comes in. Hayes is going to find himself dropping. Nuclear getting
Nuclear excited,
looking to chase down the remaining members. Sleepy Trouble Bubble not going to be able to find his mark in the assassination of Disconnector as Rise gets put back down.
Words fail me right now, Travi, because that was brutal to watch. And the way it happened too, ISU had to wait for the hook to land from Kenny Master Lin, and it feels like right now Rise, we were just praising the 1-4 there, but it has to be 4, right? They were trying to do that as 1-3-1, and unfortunately there just wasn't enough damage to burst down GFP, who ended up getting hooked there. So did not go well for Rise, but they're still in the driver's seat, right? ISU not only needs to find that pick, they need to find the pick at the right time, because you got the kills, great. What are you finding off the back of it? Did you find a turret? No. Did you get a dragon? No. Baron? No. And in 50 seconds, Rise is right back up against that Baron. Was the gold you got worth it? That one, I'd say, is an I don't know. Prove it to me at the next Baron play.
Well, they didn't get vision around the Baron pit, which is coming up, like you said, coming up here very shortly. And this is really, like, Illinois State. We keep talking about the team Illinois State, but this is Nuclear. This is Nuclear show right now. He is running things on the Rift, and if you do not stop this Jinx, Nuclear is going to get more than excited to be able to put you back at the fountain. And Nuclear is the person who's stepping forward for this team right now. Here we go. Shirley is coming in. They're going to be able to fire in a couple rockets. Hayes is going to find himself getting dropped as well. The Moonlight Vigil is going to be able to connect onto 3 members, but they're continuing the chase. They are in hot pursuit, but over here onto the side, Disconnector getting caught inside of the flank. Base did get dropped by Drudozer, getting popped by that Lich Bane, that Depth Laser coming on through. And now Illinois State, they bought themselves all the space they needed in yet another scattered fight.
Travi, we were questioning how ISU was going to force an engage. Apparently, Shredder is how they're going to do it. They just brute forced that one there, and they just ran down the squishy targets. And now they get themselves Baron. I said, prove to me that the gold was well spent, and they just did. Rise losing that is actually massive for them, because we've seen how they struggle to push. The split push is of less and less use the closer they get to ISU's base, and now it's ISU's turn to show us what can you do with the Baron. Given what we've seen already, I am inclined to think it's going to be extremely effective, and it's up to Rise now to pull off what ISU just did. Find a flank with your top laner, find a proper engage, and burn down the carry space.
Bro, I'm gonna say this. It's up to Rise to not scatter themselves like that as well. That was another big problem that they're having here. Nuclear is playing very far forward, but look at this. Hayes is just getting jumped onto yet again. Shaki's looking for an angle to be able to jump into, make some play happen, but here comes a scattered fight, and this is where they're able to shine. They'll be able to come in from every single angle to make it 3 kills in quick succession. Kenny has to flash away. The Super Mega Deathfire does not find its prey, and RV is able to stay alive. Kenny will be able to survive as well. But things are just getting disasterific as Rise is faltering.
Yeah, and with that Jinx as well here, this could be Rise's base being broken open here. Inhibitors potentially falling down.
Oh, Sleepy Trouble Bubble isn't going to be able to save you from this. You can lay out some damage, but that is all she wrote. Victor finding the kill onto the Zoe. This is going to be an inhibitor in the bot lane getting taken. They can force this for the game end here. They're looking for Kenny. Death sentence isn't for you, it's for yourself here. Rise are gonna find themselves dropping. Illinois State pick up the dub, and Rise gets jinxed.
Chavi, can we see the goal graph? Because that's got to be one of the biggest swings we've seen, right? Rise was in control the entire time and just felt like ISU just flipped the switch, and all of a sudden their scaling kicked in and they just ran them right over there. And I want to highlight Drew Dozer a little bit, because in that last fight, I think the victor was absolutely massive looking that flank. Yes, Nuclear was the one to start forcing the pick, or forcing the fight. It wasn't even a pick. It was just Nuclear running down highs there with the Jinx. But it was the flank from Drew Dozer and the Zhonya's. And before that fight, Drew Dozer was 1-7-1, had been bullied, picked on all game, Chavi. And I'm going to make the case he wasn't being bullied. That was the game plan that Rise needed to hold.
It's the glow up, okay, RMC? All right? It's the, you know, he got bullied inside of middle school, and then high school came up, and he's the Chad. He's got his chest poked out. He's like, remember me? Hey, I'm that kid you used to pick on. And, you know, he slugged them. He did a great job. Had those flanks coming out. I was cool with it. He also had his homie Nuclear holding it down. Like, Nuclear was absolutely popping off in that fight, and I feel like now eyes have to be on this AD carry. That was a scary good performance.
Definitely, absolutely devastating there. And Disconnector as well. The lane did not look good for Disconnector, but the Akali end game being able to run people down as well. It wasn't the Chemtank Akali, it was, you know, the Riftmaker Akali, and it still looked really, really tanky. Like, Disconnector in a lot of those fights was able to soak quite a bit of damage, sustain through a lot of those fights. And for Rise, this gives them a really big problem, because the drops were solid for both of these teams. We said that ISU would struggle trying to find engages, but the one they bought the Shirelias and popped it, they were perfectly fine. And Rise's early game was really good, but they failed to close things out. And so now, going to game 2, what sort of changes do you make? If you go more towards the late game, can you still maintain your early game? And if you don't draft more towards the late game, and they already kind of did with an Aphelios and Gwen, how do you close the game out?
Well, I have an answer for that.
Okay.
Right after this short break that we're going to take when we come back for game number 2. Ladies and gentlemen, don't touch that browser, as we will be right back. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the UPL. If you're just now joining us, you missed out on a fantastic game number 1, but don't worry. We got more where that came from as we're going into game number 2. My name is Travis C. I am joined with the ever so fabulous RMC coming at you live. And hey, we got game number 2, a comeback victory. What's in store for us here, RMC?
I don't know if I'd call it a comeback, Travi. I mean, that felt kind of planned up by ASU. They never looked, panicky at any point. They felt like they were in control, and I think we're going to see more of that in game 2 here. And the pressure is on Rise to try and figure out a solution, because when everything goes your way, when you're up, what was that, a 7,000 goal lead at one point for your team, and you've got good scaling with Gwen and Aphelios and can't close out a game, big questions raised. And let's keep in mind here, Rise is a developmental roster. They are still fairly new as a team of 5 players here. And that's a really good foundation to work off of, but they're still looking for a win. So they need to figure out a solution ASAP.
I want to highlight the fact of something that you talked about earlier, though, is they were the team that got the early lead. Things did look convincing for them once they got to move members out of the map and were able to control things for themselves going through this laning phase. And I feel like that does show, you were talking about it, developmental. If you're looking at a team that is developing, this is a scary roster when you use that word with, because game number 1, they put on a clinic in the first 20 minutes of the game. They were ahead in 7K gold, like you were talking about. They're going against a roster full of people who have played together on a team that have been competing over in the Midwest. There's a lot of stuff that is going on in this situation here that gives you a lot of bright spots. And honestly, this team, they can clean up some things, and easily Illinois would have lost that last game.
For sure. And I don't think they really need to change too much in draft here. I liked their draft last time. If there was a failing of it, it was, I think, just Rise struggled to, fully leverage it. We didn't see all the skill shots landing as much as we would hope to see there, and that isn't something you can change in draft. Now, we are seeing a side swap come through, and considering that the entire linchpin of ISU's game 1 was the Jinx here, and Rise can't steal it away, I expect to see a ban come through.
Yeah. If not, it would be a big mistake in my opinion. I feel like Jinx needs to be taken off the table, right? Like I said this all last weekend on this same exact channel, casting Collegiate League of Legends. ISU was there. Just ban Jinx in this situation. Just take it off the table. It's the comeback factor. You know what? In this situation, just give them Caitlyn. Ban Jinx instead. Caitlyn can get you a snowball going, but Caitlyn doesn't have that comeback factor.
Whoa. Travis, you're saying give up the... I don't know if that's a safe thing to do, because it felt like, yeah, sure, Nuclear blew up the late game there, but you give him Caitlyn, he'll blow up the early game, and then he's
I want to see it
coming back.
Yeah, what has he got? Let's see it.
You know what? I'm with you, Travi. I want to see it, but I don't know if Rise wants to see it.
I mean, honestly, if we do take a moment to look at it, you do look at ISU and how they attacked in the last game, in the early parts of the game. They did send a Trundle early bot, so maybe the Caitlyn would be a scary scenario to have there. But it is something that I'm sure is on Rise's mind here. Like, hey, we were 7K ahead. We were ahead in that game, and we failed to close it out. We had tools to be able to close it, but they have to kind of clear up their head. They banned the Zillion here. They're leaving this last ban a mystery. It's either going to be Caitlyn or Jinx.
There's also Zeri on the table. And Zeri was banned last game by ISU on red side here.
Leave it
and
up.
Because they're blue side, they could pick Zeri, they could pick Jinx, they could pick Caitlyn. They've got the pick of the litter here. I'm curious to see if they try and pinch the pool a little bit. You know what? I like this ban quite a lot more, because when we look at how Rise found their leads, Highs and Kenny Masterlin were roaming to the mid lane helping out RV, but Shocky was finding solo kills with the blind pick Gwen.
Just straight up shocking the audience, and also Disconnector on the other side here. Currently have the hover on the ban here. It is still going to be the Caitlyn, I bet you, as we do see the hover coming in. Zeri! Okay. I am so surprised about this. So Jinx and Caitlyn are both available, so this will be a handshake.
Yeah, I don't know if it's so much a handshake as it's a shot for shot, right? You're saying that, okay, we'll give you one and we'll take the other. Mm-hmm. If you take the Caitlyn, we trust that we can outskill you with the Jinx, and if you take the Jinx, this is we're gambling that Vase and Kenny, or no, we're not gambling. We're confident that Vase and Kenny together can just outright dominate the bot lane with the likes of a Caitlyn Lux, for example. And I do know that Kenny does have a nasty Lux as well in his back pocket. I like him for his hook champions, but Lux, I mean, similar principle in terms of landing the skill shots there.
Maybe. Thresh is the lock-in here.
Okay, fine.
I can see the Caitlyn coming in here. It is definitely something that's still strong. They could go for the Aphelios again. It did have its bright moments. So they do have that option in regards to it, which does leave the Zeri ban a bit more interesting for me.
And you kind of don't have to pick the Caitlyn or the Aphelios here right now if you don't want to. You could go with something like, okay, I was going to say J4, for example, to pair with that Thresh and lots of ganks to come through. Xin Zhao can do a similar thing, but so far, Rise seem to be comfortable kind of just running back what they had in Game 1. And like we said, Travi, their draft in Game 1 was fine. It's not a big deal if they want to go back to it. It's more about the execution here. And yeah, I'm okay with what we're seeing so far.
I want to see ISU switch things up here at this point, though. The Trundle pick last time was a direct counter to the Xin Zhao. Don't pick it again here. The Lulu, completely fine with. But don't do the Trundle here. Look at the grand scope of things and look at things that can support your team a little bit more in this situation. Because the Trundle, the best thing he was able to do was throw down pillars to be able to disrupt fights, which is great, but I want a little bit more. I want a little bit more zest, something that pairs together and gives them a little bit more comfort to make this game harder for Rise.
Yeah, I mean, we say that the Trundle got picked up as a counter to the Xin Zhao, but at no point did we really see them duke it out and go for the full 1v1. Instead, big change up here. They are leaving the jungle for later. They want Drew Dozer on his signature champion here. Corki coming through. I said it was nerfed. The specific nerf is package doesn't spawn till 10 minutes, 2 minutes after Herald is there and usually fought over, and packages come every 5 minutes instead. So the window for picking up packages and making plays around Dragon is a lot tighter.
It indeed is, and the Akali hover currently happening here. I'm expecting this to be a Shocky champion here. I like this move too, by the way, from Drew Dozer, because RV did get to have a good KDA spread, right? Struggled a bit as the game went on in being able to land certain abilities and whatnot. So I like this from Drew Dozer, being confident inside this mid lane matchup. I wonder if Rise is just going to pinch the jungle pool here.
Yeah, there's no reason to do anything else necessarily. You're looking for top and jungle here, and you get counterpick, right? The Akali here is a flex between both Shocky and RV. Both of them play it quite comfortably as well. So you get, and I'm assuming it's the counterpick into the Corki, right? Because you knew exactly what you're seeing with this Corki here. The laning is okay into the Corki, and once you hit 6, you actually have kill threat. So I'm assuming we're likely to see just the AD carry pickup from Rise. And for ISU, because they're looking for the AD carry, pinch it. The Aphelios didn't work too hot, or it did well in laning, but struggled later in the game. And Caitlyn's still on the table if you want to ban that, or maybe ISU have said, you know what, we are comfortable with taking the Jinx into the Caitlyn. We know we can survive it, and they might try and pinch something else out, like the Jhin or something, if they feel like that's a better ban away.
This is such a scary scenario for me. They just banned the Caitlyn, like you said here, and all of a sudden you're left with less things here. The Jhin would be very curious. I mean, they do have a squishier team composition, right? And Jhin could set up with this, but I'm personally all your really strong picks are kind of guzzled down. This is them being very confident that Rise is not going to pick Caitlyn.
And I think it's also partially because Vase doesn't play as much Caitlyn as he does Jhin. So that one's a little bit of a target, knowing Vase as a player as well. And these two teams do scrim with each other, so maybe that was something that came up from the scrims. They feel like, hey, Vase is Caitlyn, not that scary. We think that Nuclear can outscale and outplay it. And let's remember 12.3. Oh, yes, Vase!
RMC! RMC! Are you ready? Are you ready?
I was spawned ready for this, Travis.
Step on up. Welcome to the League of Draven. Let's go. Okay, I'm ready for this. This is a champion for Vase to pop off onto. Going to have to keep our eyes on it. It requires a bit of the mastery on the champion to be able to show off and gain that adoration. But hey, what better place to be stacking adoration in here in the UPL as we get a Gragas, and last pick coming up for ISU.
They need a jungle pickup here for GFP, and I'm curious. I mean, a lot of the jungle picks are still open. The Lee Sin's open. The J4 is open, even though that doesn't play too well into the likes of Thresh here. And the last second, they go with the Poppy. Okay. I really like the Poppy. Vex was meant to be the counter to mobile champions, but I always thought Poppy did it better, right? And now that Xin Zhao is going to struggle to engage, Akali is going to struggle to engage. We've seen what happens when you can't hit nuclear. And in the late game, once again, even if it's the League of Draven, even if you get a whole bunch of adoration stacks, if you can't kill Jinx towards the end of the game, it does not matter.
Yeah, Poppy will spin you up against the wall no matter what. Doesn't care. And Aatrox will be the lock-in, and this is a matchup that we've seen a lot of people opt into to Gragas. Aatrox normally destroys Gragas, eats him up, and steals his cask away from it, drinks it, and then kills him again. It's a terrifying thing to have to deal with.
Yeah, but it feels like a bit of a lame matchup, Travi, when you pick this Aatrox here, because I'm not quite seeing how the Aatrox is going to function into the rest of ISU quite as much. You don't have an easy engage, you don't have an easy lockdown to allow Aatrox in. Poppy's steadfast presence can mess you up a little bit, and the Keeper's Verdict as well is just going to absolutely disengage this big tanky Aatrox, maybe knock away the Xin Zhao, and then suddenly the League of Draven is going to be just the League of Draven alone with nobody to back him up as well, and then Draven's going to be exposed to the elements. That's not going to be fun. Rise with this composition here, I feel like they need to snowball early. You've got winning lanes, play to it. Aatrox should smash that lane. Mid lane, level 6, there's kill potential here for the Akali, and bot lane, League of Draven. We need to see that adoration stack quick. Kenny landed a bunch of really good hooks last game. You do it in this lane, it should be a kill every time.
It should be. I'm also wondering if this is going to be that Glacial Augment Thresh yet again going into this matchup. I liked it in the last one, especially when there's a Trundle on the other side. Don't want to give him a person to be able to get stats off of. So I really like the choice that they ended up going for here. I do want to make a point on Shocky. I want to revisit that because I feel like there's a pro and a con that we saw from Shocky in game number 1. Side lanes, fantastic. Flanking, not so much. I want to see if there can be an improvement on that. If he is going to play to flank these lanes, he's got to impress in game number 2.
Yeah, and with the Aatrox, unfortunately, there's no easy way really to flank either, right? Like, you're not the most mobile of champions, and you do want to be in the thick of things. We already established the fact that trying to get in from the front against the Poppy is going to be nigh impossible here. Yeah, this is the big challenge for Shocky. Can you actually get into the team fights to make things happen? And we've talked a lot about Rise here, Travis, but I want to go back to ISU because
let's go.
While the draft has changed up, the core identity of the comp is still very, very similar. Mid, bot, Drudozer and Nuclear, let them scale, let them carry. Disconnector, GFP. Actually, no, Disconnector's a bit different role this time. He's tankier, more disengaged, but GFP still, once again, on that guard duty, stopping everything from coming through. And one thing that I really do like about this composition compared to game 1, Travi, we criticized them for lack of easy engage. They've got it this game.
They do. They have the flash body slam, something that every pro out there has been like, yo, this is broken engage to be able to go for. Explosive Cask is also fantastic. Disengage as well and engage, so they have that to double up on. Poppy, like you said, neutralizes all these dashes that are coming in. You can pop these fools up against the wall. It's super clean and easy. Like, Poppy is a champion. I feel like I can just turn my brain off and I just hit the W key every now and again, and I'm like, yes, this is what I do. A little speck of drool drizzles down my mouth, but you know what? I'm gaming. I'm winning right now with this Poppy. So I really like the identity that ISU has for themselves.
Travi, if you like that sort of Poppy, may I introduce you to solo top lane support Poppy, where you run support item.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. I'm already a degenerate, but I'm not that degenerate.
I just cast that this morning in the LJL. It exists, and I wish I could burn it out my mind, but it exists. And that's the press W, drool, sit in a corner style Poppy there. And I'm praying to goodness. We won't see it this game, right? This is a jungle Poppy.
This is a jungle Poppy.
We should be fine. You can't build support items in jungle just yet, right?
Not just yet. I'm sure that will happen in the future, but Right now, we don't have that level of chaos. We don't have that level of degeneracy. We are here in UPL game number 2. Illinois State are up 1 game. They're on the blue side, taking on Rise, looking to find themselves a dub here and bring this to a game number 3.
Travi,
Oh,
once again,
Master
I'm a
Push.
little disappointed we're not seeing an invade from Rise. I feel like you've got Draven. Draven's like one of those champions like Blitzcrank to me. If you have him, invade. You've got the.
Well, he's the Giga Chad, right? Like he's the
Yeah.
Giga Chad. Like
It
this
doesn't.
is this
It
is
doesn't matter.
This is
Just
the person
go.
that if you see that they main this champion, you do come to a couple assumptions about that person as an individual, but you also like like their playstyle is going to be right up in your face. You don't play passive Draven, right?
No, and we saw the Aphelios last game as well. Vase and Kenny were not passive in lane. They were punishing each and every single time they landed a hook. And I've met Vase in Discord before, can vouch. He's an absolute Chad. So I'm expecting to see tons of pressure in this bot lane. We're seeing the jungler start topside. And to me, that's even more fun because the more people show up in the bot lane, the more targets there are for Vase to kill. Oh, wow.
That's a lot of damage.
That's level 1. I did not expect that. Okay.
Yeah, we got the tier start coming out from the Corkster over here inside of the mid lane. Standard stuff to be able to see here. I'm also, you're talking about these junglers pathing up here towards the top, going from top side down to the bot lane. That makes me a little scared for this top lane matchup. Shocky got the better end of Disconnector last time, and I feel like Shocky is definitely somebody you can count on to be aggressive and be that oppressive force in the top lane. So with no jungle pressure, Gragas might be one of the ultimate weak side top laners out there, but he's going to be in for a struggle. Look at what Poppy's doing again here.
Oh, I love this. And I don't think that GFP actually got spotted on that deep ward at Raptors here. So, Rise, though, this time they learned their lesson. Look at the early ward that they're putting down from base there. It's like, okay, GFP early ganked us last time. We're not going to let that happen again. Draven does not recover gracefully from bad lanes. And now Drew Dozer.
And Drew Dozer is level 3. Does have Valkyrie available for themselves. He's doing a good job waiting to be able to jab him with that spear. But Flash Force there as well. Poppy
really good
looking to
patience
aggress.
with
This is actually big here. It's going to pin him up against the wall. This is Dark Harvest Poppy. This hammer hurts.
Let's go. It's hammer time, Travi. And people underestimate the damage that Poppy brings to the table, but the base damages are incredibly high. Most tanks actually have really high base damages there. And I was just praising Highs for the gank in the mid lane, burning the Corki Flash, but now Highs can't capitalize on that, and GFP still roaming the map on the bottom side. Vase and Kenny have to be careful.
It's a little bit disrespectful. It's hard to fight Poppy inside the jungle too. So this is exactly what we're seeing. Akali is actually trying to roam down to try and help out Xin Zhao here. But the numbers advantage is in their favor. Let's see. What will the fight bring? GFP was able to secure it, is looking to just punch him up against the wall, but GFP in a little bit too deep. First blood over to the Xin Zhao.
But look how close that was, Travi. Highs almost dropped dead in that fight there. First blood came down to a matter of 100 damage perhaps, and Drew Dozer, if he had moved, that could have changed. But as it stands, Rise, first blood on Highs, a lot of that pain alleviated, the jungler ahead. And this is how Rise, kind of started the last game as well, with the early lead, with the pressure.
Well, this only matters with hand grenades, man. Poppy doesn't have those. Has a shield. That's all. And a hammer. And the brute determination to push people up against walls. So, Gluten-Free Panda is going to be looking to try and utilize that to make things a little bit better for themselves at this moment in time. The Dark Harvest, something they're going to want to get going. Vase taking a good amount of damage on the trade. Unfortunately, Jinx will outrange them in most cases, as the game is kind of in a stable point.
Yeah, and huge props to Nuclear and Tempest actually in this bot lane right now to be bullying out the Draven this early. We said it earlier, but Draven doesn't recover gracefully when he's in a bad position, in a bad lane. Draven only has a go button. You go in or you go home. And against the advanced range of the Jinx especially, you can see that you can't really answer the poke. You're looking for constant all-ins, and so far Vase hasn't been able to find that.
Not at all. This has been a constant just story for them down here in this bot side here as the trades continue to go on inside the mid lane. Nothing too crazy to happen. Poppy's looking for an angle. Mountain Drake is up. So I'm sure both junglers are possibly looking for those moments. As we do see RV will be able to get that reset off. Has TP. Will be fine and dandy.
Yeah, and keep in mind, Drew Dozer already used his TP earlier, so won't be able to match, and actually picked up a call. So very little combat effectiveness to come through from Drew Dozer. That's why we didn't see them roam earlier to help out GFP as well. And so Rise, they should have full control of these early dragons, even the early Herald as well. First Herald, they should be way stronger, and ISU looks like they're just defaulting back to what worked for them in game one. Scale, you know, just sit in lane, farm. We can give up the early objectives, wait for Drew Dozer to come online, wait for Nuclear to come online.
Oh, Explosive Cast was just used there. That will be them giving up on the possible gank here. This should just be a shove from Disconnector, I'm guessing. But this is the go trigger for the Xin Zhao to go ahead and pull out this dragon here. The bot lane reset. This is nice for Rise. They got themselves first dragon this time around. See if they'll be able to continue that pressure for themselves.
Yeah, I think part of that was also they suspected that GFP was around when Disconnector kind of threw the explosive cast. There's really no other reason why the explosive cast would just come out in the lane like that. Felt a little bit random, and Shocky was still pretty healthy. So, like we said, early control to Rise. This is exactly what we expected. In minutes time, Herald comes up. Expect to see more of that. And so because of that, the question just kind of revolves all around Rise right now. What do you want to do, right? Where do you want to go? Your mid lane's winning, your top lane's winning, your bot lane kind of isn't. So maybe start throwing some pressure down there. If not from highs here, maybe RV could look to try and get some kills as well on this Akali.
If there's anybody who enjoys having a spotlight put onto him, it's Draven. So I feel like Draven's a good answer, right? As a Vamp Scepter, get him some items. And get this man a BF sword, right? Like he wants to be able to cash in here eventually. And you can see the party is gathering here in the bot lane. Yet again, Xin Zhao and Poppy are both here. They're both reading each other like a book. They both know the Poppy wants to shut down the Draven, while on the other side of things, Xin Zhao remembers what Nuclear was able to do on this Jinx.
True. And it's actually important to start killing the Draven as well, because if not, the way the Draven passive works is that the more stacks you have, which you haven't cashed in, the more damage your ult's going to do. So if you don't kill Vayce, and Vayce is just farming up a storm, there's mounting pressure for that first fight, for that first kill as well. And now that Rolling Death, level 6 is unlocked here, pressure just went up for Nuclear and Tempest in lane.
Becomes a very scary scenario to have to deal with. His face is just going to continue just getting that adoration, catching these spinning axes. This game currently just playing it out fairly slow here. Vayce constantly going forward on this Draven to auto trade here. Love to see it. That's what you want to see from your Draven. But yet again, this Poppy is down here. And I think they might go back to the shop to go pick up a tent to be able to deal with this Draven, because Vayce is starting to get very strong. Like you said, the later this goes on, the longer you take to shut him down, the scarier it can be.
And the fact that GFP is wasting so much time on this bot side is not ideal there. I mean, we're past the 8-minute mark. Herald's on the table. Should you really be down there? Look at the vision that Rise has managed to establish now around that Herald pit. And they can start looking for picks a little bit to try and punish if GFP walks into that area. You can see RV's winning out the trade mid as well. Shocky's going to continue pushing out with the Iron Spike whip, and even if you don't find a kill on GFP, they should secure enough pressure for highs to just go in and solo the Herald.
And I mean, it's just pressure that's been gained here. Rise is doing everything fine for themselves. This is a little bit of a worrying trend. Now they're being able to catch out Drew Dozer, but Lulu is there in the field looking for that perfect execution, but will just do a little bit of a trade of damage onto Drew Dozer. But this is a bit worrying here. GFP going to be able to get the pin down. Beautiful use there, staying steadfast. Hayes taking a good amount of damage. The death sentence hits no one. The damage continues to come out. GFP looking to see if he'll be able to pin him against the wall, and a beautiful flash will secure his fate. But now the World Ender has been popped. They're looking for more. GFP is going to have to pay for that with his life. Shocky is in hot pursuit, but it will quickly cool down as Shocky realizes he does not want to chase this any further. Will go back to his home in the top lane, and it will just be a jungler for jungler between these two.
Interesting situation that developed around that as well. The fact that Tempos actually had to blow the wild growth early should have meant that Ryze would win that in terms of ultimates, in terms of power. We mentioned the fact that Drew Dozer as well, not as strong as RV here, but Shocky went back to base when the fight started out and Disconnector came down. So ISU just had the numbers advantage. I don't want to see that happen a second time. Herald is still up, so I wouldn't be surprised if we do see the team still looking in that area, still looking for that first Herald. High, as I said it before, had the advantage, should continue to still have that advantage.
They see GFP here. Will be able to force GFP away from this. Dragon spawning in 45 seconds. So could be a possible handshake scenario to accrue at this stage of the game. Package is available for Drew Dozer as well. Has not picked that up yet. So they are waiting to pick that up for one of these big fights. And TP is available as well.
Yeah, absolutely massive here. I mean, even with the nerf to Corki to wait for 10 minutes, ISU successfully defended. We're well past the 10-minute mark here, and Drew Dozer is going to look exactly for that. So now it becomes ISU's choice. Hey, which one do we want to go for? Do we want Dragon or do we want Herald? Because I've got Package right now, and I can make that choice.
Infernal Dragon is the one. Corki is just going to be zooming in. Doesn't need to use teleport for any situation. Death Brush has been set up. Vision on the Poppy. Vision on Tempos. And now they know. The Flay comes in. GFP gets a stun. Pin him against the wall. But the won't delay this. Package comes in. And it's going to be big. Super Mega Death Target doesn't hit onto anybody. The Akali looking to see if he'll be able to tag anybody with these kunai. It's going to be a beautiful flash play to be able to hit onto Nuclear. Nuclear is trying to rejoin into this fight. Is able to get the last hit onto the Akali as a trade of 1-for-1. Nuclear still firing off some shots. Face does get the exhaust put on something. You got to defend him, but it's not enough. Nuclear takes off all that adoration. A double kill for the Jin Zhao, but at what cost?
At the cost of a lot of adoration stacks for base there. That's kind of gonna hurt, but now at least they did pick up the Immortal Shield bow here. We'll have the safety. I think he died before he cashed in. No? He died first, right?
Did he die first, or did he cash in first?
You know what? He got enough gold to get Immortal Shield bow either way. So.
Yeah. The world may never know.
He'll take it. Yeah. And ISU, they're going to be able to take the Dragon here because they just pushed them right out. And with Keeper's Verdict, that's the annoying part of Jungle Poppy here. As the enemy jungler, you need somebody to body block that for you, or else you don't even have a chance to contest with Smite.
Not at all. Cloud Dragon is going to be our soul today. As it looks like Drew Dozer is got Kenny to have to deal with here. Drop down very, very low. That's a very scary situation to be as a Glacial Augment Thresh, being that low in front of a Corki.
Yeah, you're really squishy there. Granted, Drew Dozer's not quite that scary yet, and he's still sitting on a cull. The mana immune stacking up real quick, though, and when that becomes a mirror mana, suddenly that's not a lane you want to gank if you're Kenny Master Lane less than 50% health.
I like this, by the way. From the side of Ryze, they are putting their effort down here into the bot side. Herald is being done by Illinois State on the top side of the map, so they'll be able to secure that, possibly look for a play onto Shocky, which will be very big for them, but as soon as they get the announcement that Rift Herald's being done, Shocky will know that's time to leave in a quick moment.
Yeah, and I'm not sure I'm completely sold that Ryze should just be giving up all these objectives like that. The Dragon you contested so much for, and then Herald you kind of just let slip, and you're not up a significant amount of gold. It's at 1,000 touching distance so far, and having Herald for the side of ISU makes that gap even closer. The gold differential is interesting too, because it looks like most of it's coming from the mid lane for the most part. Disconnector is actually doing really well in the top lane in a matchup that should have been really rough for him. And Nuclear up CS, up kills as well. I know their adoration stacks for base, but I still suspect if we toggle the gold that Nuclear's up right now.
Honestly, if Nuclear is up, that's terrifying for me. We saw what he does when he's behind. Here we go. Explosive Cast comes in. World Ender. Shocky is going to get pushed away from the tower here. Has to fight this out. Does have that Bramble Vest reducing that healing.
Oh my
Might be able to find a kill here. Ashley Hayes comes in like a hero. Just like he needed. A 1-for-1 over in the top side. Disconnector is not going to be able to survive this onslaught of damage. Will be perfect execution. Completely flawless. And Akali finds themselves a kill in the pocket. As Drudozer and Tempos are looking to try and brute force down this mid tower. Great bit of zoning to be utilized. So you get to see that gold. Base is actually sitting up ahead by about 500 gold.
Okay, good. That's a safe sign, or not a safe sign. That's a good sign for Rise here, because as you said, if Nuclear's up, they're in big trouble. But it's really, really close, and ideally with a Draven, you want to see the Draven further ahead at this point, honestly, right? And Vase hasn't been able to secure many kills, unfortunately. And Vase hasn't really even been part of that much action here, aside from the big kerfuffle down in the bot side. So we'll have to see how that goes for now. Kenny Masterlin has kind of abandoned Vase, and in the 1v1 it's been okay, but now that Tempos is back, Vase is going to get shoved in.
Yeah. Throwing out his blades there. Got a little spooked. He was like, ah! What's over there? That's what I imagine Draven scream to sound like. But
no, man, he's just asserting dominance. Draven doesn't get scared. What are you talking about, bro?
no, yeah. I imagine he has like the Thad scream. That's what I'm imagining here. If you don't know, I don't know what to tell you. But going forward into this game, hey, Rise got a 2K lead almost for themselves, right? They have a decent lead for themselves. This Xin Zhao has actually had quite a good amount of early impact. Akali has some kills. Draven has been able to find one of their own. So some things here are actually very, very positive for themselves here. This Xin Zhao is on 100% KP. So this Xin Zhao's been making their mark known.
Yeah, and considering that Highs was the first blood this game, getting hunted down, that is a pretty good thing. Is still able to keep ahead of GFP here. The question is, what can you do with that? They lost first drag. They lost the Herald as well. So that means that Highs has been focusing on the lanes and focusing on ganking or focusing on himself, right? And if that's the case, you do need to leverage that a little bit more. If all the gold is on Highs here, then he needs to start getting the later carries online. Now, Dragon's up in 30 seconds here. Rise is sat ready and waiting. ISU, Drudos is just waiting for his package.
Waiting for the package. Does have it. Looking to deliver on an exquisite play. Dragon spawning in 10 seconds. Looking for a possible bush strategy here. RV is going to be able to spot out Drudozer here onto the side, but Drudozer is in hot pursuit here. They're looking to see if they'll be able to catch out the Gragas over here into the mid lane. Herald was summoned bot lane, so this is a play where they have to make a move happen. Corki and Gragas are the only ones here. The rest of the team is rotating over to this Dragon, and Drudozer is just laying in free poke. There are 5 members here trying to reset in their face. Shelly is single-handedly destroying Tower's bot lane. Rise is at a loss for this scenario. Drudozer are looking for a possible angle. It's going to go ahead and use that package to be able to try and get out of dodge. It's going to lay out a good amount of damage. Shucky trying to see if he'll be able to find a kill. It's going to be able to get the kill onto Drudozer, forcing the flash from Disconnector. But what a series of events. That's 2 towers now. Dropped in the bot side. While all the shenanigans happens, what just unfolded on our screens?
This was a massive outplay from ISU in terms of macro here. Micro, though.
The caster curse comes in here. Call it an outplay. Nuclear finds himself on the pointy end of the spear, and Tempos has found himself with a death sentence that has not a period, but an exclamation mark to it, getting dropped inside that bot lane, overstaying their welcome.
ISU played the macro so well, and then the micro filled me with questions. And to be fair to Nuclear and Tempos, because they took the turret, they were kind of overextended a little bit, so that bottom set of kills probably would have happened. But part of that's also Drudozer getting caught in the mid lane, right? All you needed to do was just lay down the poke, stop them from moving, and it would have been A-okay. But Drudozer got a little bit high fee, thought he could get a little bit more poke than he actually could.
You know what I don't like about that? Before that play happened, ISU was behind 2K. Then the play happened, and then they were like 300 gold away from being at the same gold as Rise, which is fantastic, especially with the comp that you have. Then that overstay happens, and they're back to 2K deficit. Like that's the point that is why overstaying is bad here. It was good until they did bad.
Everything was good till it wasn't, basically.
Yeah.
They still do have the pressure from the bot side from taking the turret, so that's still good. And they're still stacking the soul. And Cloud Soul oftentimes is underrated. Yes, it's probably the least winningest of any Dragon Soul, but it's still Assault. And more importantly, with this particular team composition, with Nuclear specifically, we saw what Nuclear could do last game when he could move fast. So I think Cloud Soul actually is pretty good for ISU right now.
Bro, these rockets plus Zap is actually terrifying to have to deal with. It's a lot of both that Vase has to deal with in some of these scenarios. But, Death Sentence is going to connect. GFP taking a good amount of damage. Not what you want. But I was going to point out, Corki's build. He's not going to Luden's build.
Oh, yeah. Looks like it might build into the Immortal Shield, but hold up.
Oh, yeah, that's Nuclear. Out of position. They're able to punish. They said, hey, Nuclear, we read your bio. You like the front line? There's a solo kill that happened bot lane, by the way.
Yeah, okay, so that's 2 kills from Rise out of nowhere. I'm starting to expect this from Rise, because Rise just seems to be really good in these sort of 1v1, 2v2 situations. And this time, Rise are the ones who find the all-important picks as Baron spawns here. GFP, you can look for the steal, but you don't have Keeper's Verdict here, and yep, with that TP, all hopes for the side of ISU for trying to secure this Baron. Actually, Disconnector, there's still hope.
Is Rise looking to see if they can stuff it out. Super Mega Death Rocket was not able to coordinate in regards to it. Was close, or was it really? Rise find themselves a nice little bit of a lead for themselves, the most comfortable lead they've had in this series.
Yeah, and I will say that was pretty close from Disconnector. He almost
Was
got
it?
it down.
Was it?
It was sub 200. Close enough.
Was it sub 200? Was it really?
Yeah, run the replay. We don't have replays tonight. So you can't fact check me, Travis.
But RMC, let me gaslight you. Go.
Regardless of whether it was close or not, there was no cigar, and Rise do have themselves a Baron buff, but what can they do with it? It's funny, they've got the Baron buff, but ISU are still the ones shoving out faster right now, and I'm kind of worried that Rise might overextend and get punished, because that's how kind of game 1 fell apart, right? When Rise was trying to push really, really hard, and ISU just kept accepting, receiving all of it, and pumping out the damage. And this composition, if anything, is even better at it than last game was.
This is just the game of, oh no, True Dozer is the ultimate bait. Okay, that was just, like, yeah, that was beautifully predicted. Way to look juicy there. They knew Akali is a dog person, capitalized on that, went for the good pets, got the scruff, and now it's Poppy looking to jump into the fight. TP coming in from the back end too, Disconnector trying to get that flank going for them, as this is such a scattered fight. Vase is trying to see what he'll be able to do in the middle of this fight. Wild Growth was used onto the Gragas, and he looks like he's taking no damage whatsoever. True Dozer is here late for the fight, but it's A-okay. And just like you said, Rise overstep one time in Illinois. They look to jump into Disconnector. You are all by yourself. Going for the body slam. Little bit disrespectful. I like your Moxie though. Cloud Trade getting grabbed. There's no way for Rise to contest this. Yet again, another package. A TP used by True Dozer. This forces them to cut out. This Draven has to get out of dodge. Here we go. They divide up this fight beautifully.
TP?
Vase is going to find himself getting dropped. Nuclear finds himself another kill.
Shocking.
Another beautiful flash. Dev sent it to be able to happen onto the side here. The World Ender being used. Nuclear has to run away. Keeper's Verdict pushing away the threats away from their carry Nuclear. And now they're looking to continue this fight on forward. The Death Sentence was able to bring Hayes back into the fight, but that's going to be Shocking taken off of the map. And the Jeets, they're saying bombs and bullets will do the trick. That is just a huge dub for Illinois State.
Once again, Travi, it took 24 minutes to arm the bomb, but Nuclear is going off right now. Another big win and another Rise sort of overextension there. You were out, you were safe, and then Shocky decides to re-engage. You were saved by GFP. That wasn't a disengage. That wasn't a big nope button from GFP. That was a I just gave you a get out of jail free card, and you chose to run back into this.
I'm lost for words. Like, I really am. Like, this has been a situation, yet again, we found Nuclear in a precarious situation, but really good stuff from GFP. Illinois State's really good about playing inside of these team fights. Like, they're doing a fantastic job of just pushing every single offensive maneuver that Rise wants to go for out the window. And now we're sitting at items, we're sitting at these 2 item power spikes yet again. And all of a sudden Illinois State starts socking them back in the face.
Yeah, and that was during a Baron power play from Rise. That was a negative Baron power play for Rise. ISU are up gold now after that series of events. And sure, you push down mid. You didn't even get mid outer turret. Okay, fine. They get bottom outer now, but that's after the Baron power play. And meanwhile, Drudozer did take top.
Yeah, and look at this. It is the World Ender pop. That's a bad use of the explosive cast. They got him right into the face of Drudozer. That's not where he wants to be. The shield boat's going to be able to make him live for a little bit longer, but the Akali is there to punish. And right now, this Akali is a Kunoichi that's not to be trifled with, as this Kunoichi has a very spiky dagger that they're ready to throw in. They're trying to see if they can lay a little bit more damage. GFP is going to be able to fast track themselves here, but the rest of Rise is in tow as well. Illinois State, they're going to back up, reassess the situation, and draw the defensive lines, which forces Rise to disengage.
Like you said at the beginning there, Travi, that was not a good explosive cast from Disconnector. Drudozer gonna have some words with Disconnector after that one there, because that wasn't a bait situation. Drudozer did not get out alive. But once again, it feels like a callback to game one, right? Rise, you get the kill. And then what? What are you gonna find after this? Congrats, you killed Drudozer. It literally does not matter. Dragon coming up in 2 minutes, Baron in 1. Drudozer will be back up. Don't know if he picked up the package or not, but if he did, then Rise can't even contest.
We're at this moment in time, too, where the key members have picked up their key items now. It's Corki Shieldbow has the rapid fire, right? So these autos going to do a good amount of damage, going to be able to put in a good amount of work in terms of autoing away on these champions. Also gives them some survivability, as we saw in that last fight, even when, you know, your Gragas decides to say, hey, face check this Aatrox. But it does give them quite a bit of survivability. So Illinois State, they're in a prepared. It feels like they just started from scratch now. The past 27 minutes were just a warm up for them.
Yeah, this is when they actually start to play the game instead of Farming Simulator, which is kind of what they've been doing up to this point. Now, RV, though.
Flash, body slam, body cast, jump into the rocket. Good catch there, RV. That is a kill going over to the side of Illinois State University, and they're looking to take a lot more with this. Aatrox pushing away in the bot lane, but this is going to cost them an inhibitor, an arm, a leg, and then some, as the Aatrox will reset. Rockets being fired away, and FaZe is taking a heaping amount of damage. Heal up on the fountain if you can. Here comes the last desperate fight to be able to come out from Rise, as the damage is coming through. FaZe is slowed. He cannot move. He is not able to do anything inside these fights. He can't even get into range, as it is just Illinois State. They are going to find themselves a dub. Another tower falls. Get excited for Illinois State University as they find themselves the 2-0.
Get excited for ISU, or they'll get excited themselves. And it just feels like there's a switch, Travi. You know, at 25, 26 minutes into the game, suddenly ISU just decide, okay, guys, we're done. We're actually going to play League of Legends now. We're done with Farming Simulator, and Nuclear just goes off every single time.
It's a very interesting topic to bring up with Illinois State University. We brought up at the top of this broadcast that it's a squad of a bunch of newer players into the scene, some new blood being influenced to the scene. We're looking to see what they can do as a squad. But Illinois State University, they're this team of players that know how each other plays. They've played together on a team for quite a bit of time. And I think that showed in the team fighting here and how they prioritized the scaling, like you were talking about. Drudozer and the Jinx scaling up. I don't think it was intentional for them to wait to scale, but that's how they played it.
I don't know. I think it was very intentional from them, Travi.
They were going for early plays, so I mean,
true, but they were going for very high percentage early plays, right? They didn't take risks, and anytime they weren't sure of things, they kind of just let it go. So I really do think that they know exactly when their power spikes are. And once they hit their power spikes, that's when we start seeing ISU posture aggressively, actually start looking to force those bigger team fights instead of being opportunistic, and matching play for play. Now, Travi, you mentioned that ISU, they're looking at a team who's very, very experienced. I would agree with one exception there. Disconnector on that Gragas with those explosive casks, a little bit dicey. Some of them there trying to increase the difficulty level, even at the very end as well. Really good stun from GFP into the wall to try and save.
Yeah.
Almost bailing Shocky out there. A little bit fun, but you know what? Disconnector has done really well, and I want to reiterate Disconnector, up till last year, was an AD carry main. He's
Mhm.
transferred to top lane for probably what? We're in February now, so a month and a half,
Yeah.
effectively, right? And for somebody who's been only doing it for a month and a half, he won the Gragas into Aatrox matchup. That
Yeah.
is not something easy to do against Shocky, whose lane mechanics were really good. So huge props to Disconnector with the lane swap so far.
You know who I'm gonna give my huge props over to? I'm giving my huge props over to this Jinx, man. This Jinx.
Yeah.
Nuclear was the start. I honestly I like the fact that they built the comp the way they did. The Lulu was phenomenal as well. The wild
Mhm.
growths are very timely. The rotations from the
Yeah.
Lulu were great. But it was this Jinx. Honestly, Nuclear felt very aggressive in positioning, was always
Mhm.
marching forward, was always ready to go forward. And once I hit that 2 items, but I feel like a lot of the teams that are watching this have to look at this and be like, okay, maybe you need to get Nuclear down. Because if he's starting at the same starting line as your AD carry, you're in for a bad day.
Yeah, it's definitely really rough. And Travis, you said, the one you're looking at was a Jinx, and I agree with that. I think the Jinx is a very large part of it. It's just that champion. You get excited, especially. He seems to just fit Nuclear so well there. The moment you got one kill, Nuclear already wanted to be aggressive, wants to stand in front. Once you get excited, you don't have to stand just in front. You're in among the enemy. Sometimes that last fight going after Shocky as well. Nuclear was just outside melee range for most of that. He wasn't trying to maximize his range. He was minimizing it. What's the closest I can get without dying here? So that's a really scary thought. And even if you take away the Jinx as well, I want to see what else Nuclear has in his pocket. Unfortunately, we won't get to see it tonight because it's a best of 3
Yeah.
and they just 2-0'd. But if they have this sort of performance here, Travi, we're going to see ISU once again in the playoffs at the very least.
If I have to give Nuclear a bit of a code phrase or anything like that, if I could pick 2 words to be able to describe Nuclear, it's going to be danger close. And that's what I'm going to have for that. It definitely gave me some reminiscent vibes to that, and really was somebody who was ready to play that aggression. So I feel like you are seeing teams are going to be looking back at this and be like, oh, this is how ISU want to play. Okay, we can do that. We can figure out something to work around with it. I'm still going to stick with my strategy, ban Jinx, give him Caitlyn, see what that does. The comeback factor yet again initiated. My point still stands. It's been a week since I've been on the channel, and my point is still standing from last week. I can't be silenced on this. If they come back one time on Jinx, just get it off the table.
All the way from collegiate to amateur, the point stand. Just Jinx is OP, guys. Zeri honestly isn't quite as scary as the Jinx right now. We're on patch 12.3. But let's talk a little bit about Rise as well, because I do want to give them credit, even though they did end up losing 0-2. The early game still looked really good, and Highs on the Xin Zhao, especially in the early game, making those tracks to try and get everything going there. Huge props to the jungle pathing there. The mid game, they still do struggle to try and figure out what it is that they want to do or how it is they want to close things out. But one step at a time, right, Travi? They're new. It's week 1. They've got time.
They're developing, like you said, and we're looking forward to seeing how that development goes. But RMC, that's week 1 of the UPL in the books for us here. What a fantastic start to the series. We got to see the comeback dubs coming in. I'm calling them comebacks. It was a 7K difference that flopped. Okay, I get to call it a comeback. But with that,
all to plan.
I want to give a shout out to RMC for coming out and dealing with my shenanigans tonight. And shout outs to all you lovely viewers out there who came in and just hung out with us, talked about Gushers, and got to see all the great gameplay that we had here before us. That's it here for us here tonight, as my co-caster said. So I want to wish you all a fantastic night. You all deserve it, and I hope you all have a fantastic one. We'll see you next week.